In this video, I'll be going over the ultimate AI system that I built for e-commerce shops so that you can either apply it to your own e-commerce store or sell it to clients. I'll first go through a live demo of how this AI system works. I'll then show you how to build it from scratch and then explain every single step along the way so that you can apply it yourself. So the system is made up of three main sections. We have sales and ads, social media marketing, and then custom agents that call on other workflows. And what we get is essentially an all-in-one AI agent that can do almost anything for your e-commerce shop. Now, within the sales and ad section, this is where the agent has capabilities to get info on your entire Shopify store. So it's able to see things like all the inventory levels of your products and all the sales inside your store within a given time period. And not only that, you can also create and update products in Shopify directly through the agent. This section here is essentially an all-in-one e-commerce specialist that can provide detailed reports on a daily, monthly, or even weekly basis to see how healthy your store is doing and what to improve upon. You'll be able to gain valuable insight on your best performing products. You'll be able to update products directly. I've also added in a section where the agent can track your ad spend and measure it against the sales of your products within Shopify. This will help calculate key metrics for your store. Next, we have an entire section on social media marketing where the agent can draft up tweets and send them directly for you. This way, you can build up the brand for your shop through these automated tweets that are intelligently crafted by the AI agent. You can also do mass email campaigns either through Gmail or MailChimp. And then finally, we have the two custom agents. So the first is an SEO tool that's able to analyze pages of your website and let you know what the technical audit and content audit is. And we also have an automatic Shopify fulfillment center where it essentially fulfills all your orders that you receive in your shop. Now, before we begin, if you want to get this template and use it yourself, or if you want to receive real working guides on building AI agents for businesses, then make sure to check out my school community in the description. This is a new community that I just created that will essentially act as a hub for everything AI building and agents related. Now let's go ahead and use our agent in real time. So if you want a snapshot on how your store is doing today, we can ask to provide a detailed sales report for orders today. And we can see that for March 26th, we have two total orders. The first is from Jane Doe for $600, and the next is from Alex Smith for $700. So we can see that the total orders processed today were two for a total of $1,400. Now, this is all mock data, but obviously once you begin connecting this to a live store, you can get more valuable insights. And we also have a calculator here where you can actually calculate metrics for the store. Now, another way you can use this agent is to see if any products are running low on inventory. So you can ask what products are currently low. And here they'll give a detailed response once again on all the products you have that are low on inventory, so you'll know that you need to restock these products. Now, like I mentioned, this is an all-in-one agent, so you can essentially automate and generate all of your social media marketing directly through the system. Now, I've just added two tools for either Twitter posting or email marketing, but you can essentially add any platform of your choice to help grow your online brand directly using our agent. It uses the SERP API under the hood to do web research to make sure that all of your content is engaging to really help grow your online brand without you really needing to lift a finger at all. So just to show you how this works, I've asked to draft a tweet for a new product launch of a mid-sized snowboard called Carve. And we can see that using the SERP API research tool, it's able to generate an engaging tweet based on trends in the snowboarding industry. And then once we're happy with this, we can automatically post this to X or the platform of your choice. And you can set this workflow up to happen daily so that you can essentially automate your entire social media posting without ever having to actually do anything. And then lastly, we have two custom agents. So the first is an SEO tool that can analyze pages of your website. So for example, if you created a new page or a blog post, you can have this agent essentially check over all of the contents and let you know what to change on your website to make sure it's SEO friendly. So as a quick example, let's do an SEO audit of my website. And here we can see that the agent provides a detailed technical and content audit on the page URL that you sent. So for our case here, it was just the home page. We can see that there's critical issues with all attributes, H1 tags, structured data, meta descriptions, as well as things to improve upon. So we have to conduct keyword research. We also have opportunities for improvement on the pages. And then finally, we have a content quality assessment and keyword research and analysis section. This will essentially be huge whenever you add new pages to your website or whenever you create a new blog post, ensuring that all the pages on your e-commerce shop are SEO friendly and that it'll show up in the top search results for Google. And then finally, I just made a test order on my site. So I'll say, please fulfill the latest order. And this is where our last custom agent comes in, where it'll automatically fulfill orders in our Shopify store for us. And we can see that the latest order has been successfully fulfilled. So here we're able to manage every single aspect on our e-commerce store directly within our AI system. So you can do this for either your own personal store or e-commerce clients if you do work with brands a lot. Next, I'll go over how I built this from scratch within the n8n platform so that you can follow along and implement this to either your own store or your clients. So starting off, I would begin with the trigger of your choice. So I typically like to keep everything within Telegram, but if you want to do something like Slack, you can do so here. And you can also change it to be on a schedule. So you would do this if you want, say, like daily, weekly, or monthly reports from the agent, specifically around your sales figures or inventory levels. All right, so super simple. We'll just add Telegram here. And then we'll do on message received. And just make sure you're connected to the proper Telegram account. And then just test the workflow to make sure that this can read all your Telegram messages. And as we can see here, we just sent a message called test. Now this main workflow is pretty simple conceptually. We'll have a trigger and then the main AI agent node, as well as an output back to Telegram. But the real complexity lies within all the tools that we will have for the AI agent. So to start, let's go ahead and create our AI agent node. And then we'll want to be able to reference back the messages that we send from Telegram. So we'll do define below, and then we can just drag in the text from Telegram. Next, what we'll want to do is first add in the chat model. Now, because we'll be dealing with a ton of tools, I typically like to stray away from Google Gemini because some APIs, like the SERP API, doesn't work too well with the Gemini chat model. I found that OpenAI does actually have the most versatile AI model to be able to call on all the tools we're adding. But I would also play around. You can also use DeepSeek or Anthropic if that's your bread and butter. But for our cases here, we'll just do OpenAI and we'll use ChatGPT 4o Mini. Next, we'll want to have some simple memory. So let's just go ahead and add in simple memory. And it just needs to remember like 5 messages. So I think this is completely fine for the context window length. And once again, we want to make sure this is based on the chat ID. Now let's go ahead and create the tools. So like I mentioned, we'll want to have 3 main sections, one for sales and ads, one for social media, and then one for the custom agents that I built. So starting with the sales and ads section, we want to add a ton of Shopify nodes based on what we want to do. So the way this works in n8n is that each node can only do one very specific task. So if you want to be able to update or create or get info, these all have to be separate nodes within n8n. So what I mean by this is to start, let's go ahead and create a Shopify tool. And we want this agent to have info on all the products inside our store. So what we can set this to be is product. So now this node will look through all the products inside our Shopify account. And now for the operation, we can either create, delete, get many, or update. Now, all we want to do in this very first node is just provide the AI agent with knowledge on our shop. So we'll do get many. And this way, the agent will now have info on all of the products within our shop based on the criteria we set. So we can have the model define what to return, and we can leave everything else the same. So now to test out our agent, let's just simply ask how many products do you currently offer in our store using this Shopify node. And one more thing I forgot is that we actually need an output back to Telegram. So let's go ahead and add in the output node. And then we'll select send a text message. For the chat ID, we'll make sure that this is set properly. And then for the text, it'll be output. Now let's go ahead and test this one more time. So copying over that same exact message, it should now provide an output directly within Telegram. And we can see that we have 40 total products inside our store. And just to confirm that the memory is working as well, we can ask for variants. So we can say how many variants. And we can see that we have a total of 29 variants across all products inside our store. Now that we have all of the product info on our store, let's go ahead and add in all of the order info as well. And this is how the agent is able to calculate sales figures and see the health and revenue projections of our company. So to do this, we'll want to add in the same exact Shopify node. And then this time the resource will be order instead of product. And again, we have the same operations that we can set, but once again, we just want to get info on all of the orders. So we'll do get many orders and have the model define everything. So with these 2 nodes, our AI system first knows all the products inside our shop, and then it knows all the sales and orders that we've gotten on those products. And then to round everything out, we can add a calculator tool. And this is just so that the AI agent can actually calculate important metrics for us. So if you do want to add in a little bit of math in your calculations, I would highly recommend just adding a calculator tool to make it easier for agents to perform arithmetic. And again, you don't need to do anything with this calculator. Just leave it somewhere off to the side and the agent will know when to call on it if you're asking for important metrics to calculate. And just to give a more complete solution within this AI system, we can also add in the ability to create new products inside our Shopify store. So if we wanted to, we can set this resource to product, operation to create, and then the title will be based on what we sent to the model. And we can add in any other fields like the description of the product. We can also add in the product type, which will be defined by the model once again. So just to test out this new node, we can say to please create a new product called Carve, which is a mid-size snowboard and product type of snowboard. So we can see the description is now set to mid-size snowboard, product type snowboard, and the variants, they just added one variant, which is the default product. And just to show you that we have the product here, it's called Carve. We don't have an image because we didn't set that in the model. But if we click into it, we can see the title's proper, we have the description, and then we have the type below. Now, if we wanted to update this product, we can also do it completely within the n8n system. So what we'll want to do is just add in another tool. And then once again, we'll want to use the Shopify node, but this time we'll use it to update an existing product. So once again, select product. And then for the operation, it can now be update. Agent can figure out the product ID on its own by first looking through all of our products in this get all product node and getting the product ID. And then from here, within the update ID, it can now update certain fields of the product. So we can change things like the description, images, options, product type, etc. So for example, if you only wanted to change the body, select body, and then we want the model to define this parameter. So this is based on what we give to the model in the prompt. Now testing this out, we'll say to please update the description of this product to be large snowboard instead. And we can see that the product carve has now been updated to reflect the new description, large snowboard. And then heading over into our Shopify store, we can see that the description is now large snowboard. Now the reason why there's an error here in the Shopify node is because this ran twice. So like I mentioned, we first need to get the product ID since this is how we update the product. So what it's doing is first trying to update the product, but then realizing it doesn't have the product ID. So it then gets all the products once again, and then goes ahead and update the product. To fix this later, we can just add in a system prompt here that says to first always get the product ID before ever updating products. This way, it doesn't try to update the product first, realize it has no product ID for that product name, gets the product ID, and then goes back to update the product. Just to show you what I mean, there's two runs that occurred. So the first run is because they realized they had no product ID. So then they went back to this, got the product ID. And in the second run, this is where it successfully updated the body HTML or description. And now obviously, if you want to create a more complete solution than my initial example at the beginning of this video, you can add in even more Shopify nodes for basically everything. So you can also add the ability to edit specific orders within your shop. So what you'll first want to do is, again, make sure the order ID is defined by the model. So again, this order ID is just determined from this node where it gets all the orders and then matches it up with the specific ID before coming back to this node and finally updating that order. And then in this add field section is all the sections that you can add. So if you want to change the address, so for example, if a customer had a wrong shipping address, you can literally just message the AI system, say, hey, this is the new shipping address, and it'll reflect in the system automatically. You can also update emails, for example, of customers, just fill this in with the model. And you can just add in any other fields that you find necessary to update orders on. And then apart from getting, creating, or updating, you can also delete orders or products. So once again, if you add in the Shopify node, you can delete products directly from your store or delete orders directly from your store. Now you typically wouldn't delete an order, but for a product, go here. You can change this to delete. And then once again, you want the model to define the product ID from this earlier node here. Now let's go ahead and organize this a bit better by renaming all these nodes to say exactly what it is they're doing. And with that, we have all of the necessary data needed to get all our info from Shopify. So we have the ability to look through all our products, all our orders, create new products, delete products, update orders, and update products. Now, like I mentioned, this will be great for also calculating metrics. So if you want to combine all this sales data with your ads, what you can do is add in more tools for Facebook or Google ads. So to do Facebook, all you would do is add in a tool here, search up the Facebook Graph API, and then just make sure that you're connected to your Facebook Graph account, which is your ad account. And within here, you can find all the information you need within your developer account. And this description will just be whatever you want the node to do. So you can create ads, update ads, or even just get info on your ad campaigns. So for example, if you wanted to create a new ad, you would change the HTTP request to post instead of get. Get is just getting data, but post is posting new data into the account. For the Graph API version, you can do any of these. And then this node here is where you input your account number. So it'd be ACT underscore and then your ad account. And then the edge here would just be ads. So with this combined, you can use the calculator to combine your sales info with your ad info to calculate all the metrics needed for your store. You can see which campaigns are working, which isn't. So you can see things like your customer acquisition cost based on your ads as well as your sales info. And you can also just calculate things like customer lifetime value directly within your Shopify data. And if you do have this workflow on a schedule rather than a trigger, you can define the system prompt here and then let them know what metrics you want to calculate. So you can say calculate CAC or LTV using Shopify and Facebook ad data. Now let's go ahead and move on to social media posting. So this will be the second major section of this AI system. And that's because every single e-commerce shop does need a brand presence. And this is how we can first make it efficient, but also make it powerful. So what you first want to do is add in the ability to search through Google. This way you can see the latest trends for the products you want to advertise or create content for. So to do this, just simply search up SERP API. It's a node that's already built into n8n. And this allows you to search Google. And then what you can do is grab your API keys directly from the SERP API. It's free for the first 100 uses, so you should be able to play around with it. Now, the way this workflow works is that if you wanted to create a tweet, The thinking mainly happens inside this AI agent. They're crafting the tweet, but they'll use the SERP API tool to be able to determine what engaging content to actually put out. So you can think of this as just research for this AI agent to use when generating tweets or content for you. And then next, after we have the content, we want to find a way to be able to actually post it. So in our case, we can do Twitter, since that's a fairly easy way to grow your online brand. So we'll search up Twitter or X, and then make sure you're connected to your X developer account, tools set automatically. You'll want to create a tweet because you can use this to essentially automate postings every single day based on things that are trending or products that you want to talk about. And then importantly, the text can just be defined by the model. And you can do the same exact format for emails as well. So if you want to do bulk email sends through a mailing list that you have, just simply use MailChimp, and you can make sure that everything is set so the email will be based on the model. You would set the list to your MailChimp account. And then once again, you would have the AI agent first craft all the content for you and then use the MailChimp tool to send it out to your mailing lists. And if you don't have a MailChimp account, you could just use Google. So once again, we want to set this to be defined by the model. So you can either send over a mailing list to the agent, or you can directly tell the agent who to send the emails to. And the subject and message, once again, will all be set by the model. So you can tell it specifically what to put as the content. These 4 tools will just make sure that you have a pretty robust and thorough content marketing machine that you can automate day in and day out. And with this SERP API tool here, you'll never run out of ideas for trending topics within your space. And then again, if you want to do this every single day, just change this Telegram trigger to a daily scheduled trigger instead. And now lastly, inside this AI system, like I mentioned, I want this to be as comprehensive as possible for all e-commerce shops and clients. So I've added in 2 major tools that n8n doesn't offer natively. Now the first is also one of the most important aspects of e-commerce, which is SEO. So you would use this tool in our AI system if you create another page in your website or another blog post, and you want to make sure that it's optimized for Google. So this will be on both a technical as well as content level. So for example, it'll check for things like all your images having alt text. It'll see if the HTML structure of your web page is accurate with H1, H2, and title tags. And then apart from that, it'll also audit the content on your page to make sure that it actually has proper keywords for your niche. This way, anytime you make any changes to your website, you can always call on this SEO tool to make sure that everything is optimized perfectly. So to use this in our AI system, what you need to create is a sub workflow. And this is a workflow that runs off to the side whenever this main workflow calls on this tool. So to do this, simply add a tool and then select call n8n workflow tool. Now for the name, I'll just go ahead and change this to be SEO tool. Now the description here is important for the agent to know when to use this tool. Because this isn't native, you need to be as descriptive as possible so that this AI agent node knows to use this tool whenever you want to analyze a page on your site. So here I just said to call this tool to analyze the SEO of a page on our website. And then for the workflow, because you don't have any sub workflows, I would create a new sub workflow. But in my case, I'll just go ahead and connect to the one I already created, which is the SEO workflow. And for the workflow input here, we want this to be defined by the model. So we'll feed the model the URL, which they'll then feed to the sub workflow. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how this sub workflow looks like. So this is the sub workflow for our SEO tool. We can see that it only triggers when executed by another workflow. Now the first step of the node is to scrape the website. So what it's doing is taking the URL that we're passing over from the main workflow. So for example, for apple.com, this could be like apple.com/pricing. And it's important to note that this only scrapes one page of your website. So if you want to look at your entire website, you'd have to run this for however many pages you have on your site. So if your site was apple.com, you would need to run one time for apple.com, one time for like apple.com/pricing, apple.com/sales. And then if you have blog posts, apple.com/blog1, blog2, blog3, etc. So this might be tedious in the beginning, but after you have this set up, then you can have this trigger either automatically or manually when you create another page on your site. So after we scrape all the info on that specific page, we can break it out into 2 sections. We have the technical audit and the content audit. So like I mentioned, the technical audit will be things like the structure of your site, HTML code, and like alt text for your images. So this is the prompt that I'm using here, that you're an expert SEO manager, and we want them to only analyze the HTML code of the page and do a comprehensive on-page technical SEO audit. And we have this broken out into critical issues, quick wins, opportunities for improvement, and final output. So this just covers the entire skeleton of your page, but next we want to read the actual contents, so what you're writing on the page. This is where our content audit node comes in, and this is where they're an expert SEO manager for content. So they're first making sure that it's quality content that you're writing on the page. They'll make sure that you're using the proper keywords within your niche, and they'll also make sure that everything is readable. You can think of this as a checklist of factors to make sure that you're ranking properly on Google. Plus, it's an added benefit that you don't have to pay a subscription fee or an SEO agency to do these things for you. And then now what we do is merge the 2 items here. So we have a technical audit and content audit, merge it into one single item and mark down it to HTML. And this last node here is what the AI agent receives back in the main workflow. So conceptually, the AI agent here then receives a technical and content audit and then sends it over to our Telegram. And like I mentioned earlier, if you don't want access to all these custom agents that I'm showing in this video, you can access my school community in the description. There I'll post guides and templates on all the workflows I'm using in my videos. So after this, what we want to add is a fulfillment center. So you can think of this as an automated way to fulfill orders that are open within your Shopify account. So once again, we want to call another workflow because this is a multi-step process. So the name here is Shopify Fulfillment. We'll call this tool to fulfill Shopify orders on our store. And then for the workflow, once again, you would need to create your own sub workflow. But for us here, I'll just select automatic Shopify fulfillment. Here's how the sub workflow works for automatic Shopify fulfillment. So first, it just gets triggered by another workflow, but we're not actually passing any data. So no information from the main workflow actually gets sent to this automatic fulfillment. All this does is trigger so that it automatically fulfills open orders in your Shopify account. So our first step here is to get the store of our Shopify. So this will always stay the same. For us here, it's AI Pathways, which is a mock store that I created. Now the next node is one that we're familiar with, which is to get all orders using the Shopify node. Now it's important to set the fulfillment status here to be unfulfilled. This way, this node only gets unfulfilled orders within our Shopify store. So once we have all the unfulfilled orders from Shopify, what we want to do is run this through a loop and keep fulfilling orders one by one until it's fully finished. So for example, if we had 5 unfulfilled orders, we would get 5 orders here that get sent into this loop. And first we would get the fulfillment orders, mark these orders as fulfilled, and then repeat, and then do it one at a time. So second one, fulfill third, fourth, fifth. And then after this is done, and there's no more loops to be had, it will then send a success message here. And because this is the last node in our sub workflow here, this is the success message that gets sent back to the main AI agent node. So this is what our get fulfillment orders looks like. All we're doing is getting the URL that we're getting from the previous step, which is get store. And then we're getting all the orders from that store. And then following this, we want to mark fulfillment orders as fulfilled. So that's why our new method here is post instead of get. This is the URL, which is the same. And then now using JSON, we are marking these as fulfilled. And then again, this only happens one at a time. So you have to be a bit patient if you're running like 100 orders through this loop. But it will do this 100 times in a loop until there's no more orders to be fulfilled. And then after that, it'll go into this done workflow and send a success message. And then now to tie this all together, all we need is a good system prompt to let the agent know which tool to use in which situation. So what you want to do as a final step is head over into our AI agent. Then you'll want to add a system prompt. So this is the message that the agent sees every single time you send over a prompt. Now feel free to go ahead and copy my system prompt exactly. All it says is that you're an AI multi-tool assistant for business automation. And we want this to be focused on e-commerce, obviously. So we have Shopify, Facebook ads, SEO, and social media posting. And then importantly, you always want to make sure that you have the date set to today. And this way, when you ask the agent to do things or get sales for a certain date, it'll always know that today's date is this date and time. And then below this, we have specific guidelines on handling the tools. So we have Shopify, Facebook ads, or SEO queries. Below here, we have social media posting. And then you can see the criteria on how I'm using the SERP API to research a topic and provide the best content possible. Following this, we have an output format, and this just makes sure that everything is neat. If you want to skip the step of reviewing, you can just have the output be directly posted to your Twitter account. You just want to make sure that your output is structured properly so you don't get any wonky text inside your social media posts. So with this, we have the ultimate AI agent system that covers everything an e-commerce shop would need to first maintain, grow, and scale their business. This will save tons of time in the marketing department in terms of things like daily tweets, sending out email newsletters. And you'll also have an e-commerce specialist here that can essentially analyze all of your data for you, from ads, sales, and customers, to evaluate the health of your store or generate growth strategies for your business. And then following all of this, we have an SEO tool, which is the cornerstone of being discovered on Google for e-commerce shops. This SEO tool can run every single time your website gets updated so that you don't need to be worried about too many moving parts in terms of searchability and readability. And then finally, we have this fulfillment center here, which you can think of as kind of like a warehouse. You don't want to fulfill orders until they're confirmed. So this can happen on a daily basis or in certain batches if you'd like. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more AI building content.